Hello everybody, Ben Rogers here, the Raptors Digest Riker. We did a whole video breaking down the Kawhi Leonard situation yesterday, and new news is dropping today. Apparently, according to Chris Sheraton of Sheraton Hoops, I believe I'm pronouncing his last name correctly, Kawhi Leonard might be going to the Dallas Mavericks. What is all this speculation with Kawhi Leonard? I'm just confused as to where all these reports are coming from at this point.
Well, it's people's jobs to get the inside information, and unlike us, we just respond and react to information. Sometimes we hear things before anybody else does, and in which case then we are the inside people. Yeah, exactly. But sometimes it leaves us scratching our heads. And Ben, let's just talk about the implications first and foremost, because obviously what happens is this is the biggest talking point. This is the biggest free agent. You'd make the argument that Kevin Durant would have been the biggest free agent, but now he's going to be out for an entire season. So really, he's not going to make an immediate impact. He'll definitely shape the landscape of the NBA in the following years, wherever he decides to go. But Kawhi Leonard, he's the number one guy right now. He is the bring him to your team and you're going to have a shot at the championship guy. So LA's getting all the attention, right? The Stephen A's and the ESPN's, Skip and Shannon, they're getting all the attention for reporting on him and saying that he's going to go to LA, that he's going to go to the Clippers. So maybe why not bring in Dallas into the mix, into the conversation? But Ben, let's talk about the implications. What if this meeting actually happens? What does it mean? Is he leaning towards Dallas? Does he want to pair up with Doncic and whoever the heck else is there?
Okay, well, we'll start off. The Dallas Mavericks, I think they're a strong, up-and-coming basketball team. They're a team I'm going to be rooting for in the NBA. I really like Doncic, Porzingis. If Al Horford goes there, it's going to be a really fun team to watch. But it makes zero sense, in my eyes, for Kawhi Leonard to go to this roster. It's not one of those glamour franchises, so the lifestyle is not going to be better in Dallas than it would be in Toronto, even if it's warmer weather. The roster, despite the fact they have some young talent, it's one, their young talent, especially Porzingis, has some injury questions if they're going to bounce back strong and all that. And even if they're 100% healthy, their talent is not comparable to the current Toronto Raptors and how they've built around Kawhi this current season. They've won a championship. So basketball and lifestyle-wise, it really doesn't make sense. I know, especially 2 years ago, they've been kind of quiet the past couple seasons, but Dallas always used to throw their names in for the big free agents like Dwight Howard, Deron Williams, those types of players, and they've fallen off the map, so it makes sense that they're a franchise to get their name thrown in there, but to have reports saying that Kawhi is going to take a meeting with them, and we're not really sure what Kawhi's plan is for meeting with teams. Maybe he'll meet with the entire league at this point because Woj and this Sheraton guy are now bringing up names like the Sixers and the Mavericks. It's really interesting to just see these teams being thrown around. I don't think there's legitimate cause for concern for Kawhi to go to the Mavericks, but the point I bring up to you, Riker, is there's been more and more teams being reported in the running for Kawhi Leonard. Whether it's 100% true or not, we're just reading the reports that are given out to the public. Do you think it's a bad sign that more and more teams are coming into question for Kawhi, or is it just all noise and people trying to generate content for this offseason now that Kevin Durant's out and Kawhi doesn't really let anything leak?
Well, I feel like this is a joke, right? We're tickling around the subject here, but I think that more than anything, this is a fabrication completely made up on some part. I would be absolutely shocked if Kawhi Leonard actually had a sit-down meeting with the Dallas Mavericks that was legitimately entertained. I think, if anything, this is a jab at how he used to play for San Antonio and how that whole relationship sort of crumbled in his last season there of playing, and how, his first departure season, he ends up taking a team to the championship. It's maybe a spiteful piece of unfactual information that was brought up to make a jab maybe at San Antonio Spurs. I would believe that more than the actual fact that he might be taking a sit down with the Dallas Mavericks. But to your point, I do agree with what you're saying. It is worth it, maybe not to delve into Dallas, for instance, but just the fact that he is reportedly taking meetings with not a few teams, but a substantial amount of teams now around the league. And if a player is pretty well confident of one or two teams that they'd like to go to, and that was the early reports that it was going to be either the Clippers or the Raptors, to now hear that he's maybe going to be entertaining multiple different teams and scattered around the country at various states of development, it does make you scratch your head and think, is this coming from his camp? right?
Yep.
What is he looking for? What is his criteria? Because we've already talked about what the Raptors can deliver to him as a player, and it makes sense what he could get from LA in terms of the market size, hometown, right? They're a developing team as well. But some of these other teams in the mix just don't make any sense whatsoever. So it is a bit confusing to know or to understand why so many teams are being tossed into the mix now.
Certainly. Masai had a great presser today, and we can make a whole video about some of the stuff he said in the future. But one thing he brought up is how he's confident in Kawhi. He's communicating with Uncle Dennis and Kawhi pretty well every day, ever since the parade, ever since the championship. So that's a good sign. The Raptors are still confident, Riker. But one way you could take it is Kawhi Leonard. There's a lot of teams being thrown out there, random teams that you really wouldn't expect, and maybe there's a lot of uncertainty in the Kawhi camp. That's a point that I've seen a lot of the American media bring up, because even on the biggest talk shows, no one's really taking this Dallas report that seriously. I think everyone would be pretty shocked to see him actually go to the Dallas Mavericks, but you never really know. But I think both of us are in agreement that would be very strange. But a lot of people are saying it's a bad sign for the Raptors. But one way I'm kind of looking at it, one way I'm kind of taking it is, this is a better sign for the Raptors. It just shows that all of the reports, they're getting crazier and crazier, Riker, and it shows that the Clippers reports, the Lakers reports, it almost makes them lose some validity in the fact that all these random teams, all these big name franchises are just getting thrown out into the mix now, like the Sixers and the Dallas Mavericks, and people are just trying to get as much, I guess, clicks, views, and they might be hearing it from legitimate inside NBA sources, but not people that are in tune with Kawhi's camp, and I think it's just all speculation at this point. So I think as we mentioned in the last podcast, the Chris Haynes saying that he's seriously considering re-signing in Toronto, that's probably got some validity, and that's, as Kawhi had to speak on declining the player option, talk to some people. But I think the meetings and all that, I'm gonna have to see it to believe it, to really see Kawhi going out to all these random for NBA franchises.
Yeah, Ben, I totally agree with that opinion there. It's diluting the market, right?
Yep.
You're putting in so many players into the mix that you're absolutely right. It takes away the validity from the number one teams, because if the focus isn't there, it's just distracting. It's all fuzz. It's all things that are unimportant. I still think when it comes down to it that his ultimate decision will be between the hometown team and the team that just delivered him a championship, and that sort of the whole nation has rallied behind him. But I think it's fun that all of these teams are now being tossed into the mix, and even ones that we wouldn't expect, because what's a free agency without drama, know? And to have a guy of this high profile but low personality, it's so much fun that his personality is really derived from everybody else talking about him and putting words into his mouth. So it's a really fun story to follow, and I'm excited to see. Like I said, I hope that the decision isn't made as soon as free agency starts on the 1st, I guess, but because I want to have this nervousness for more time and to see what sort of develops. But I'm in the same boat as you. I am pretty confident about the Raptors' position in potentially re-signing him, and his desire to maybe want to stay and play for the Raptors for at least another season.
Yeah, certainly. I believe Chris Broussard reported, I'm not sure if he's the direct report where it came from, but he's the person I heard it from. Apparently he's taking a meeting with the Clippers on Tuesday, so that's the report there. But we're as you mentioned, no one really knows. In our opinion, all the news, it's all speculation at this point. So I'm gonna have to see everything to believe it, and hopefully it gets a bit drawn out, because it's super exciting to see Kawhi Leonard. No one knows what he's gonna do, if he's going to meet with random teams. It's super fun time of the year. But Riker, one last question I pose you. What would you do if he actually signed with the Dallas Mavericks on July 1st without taking a meeting from anyone, without any reports? What would you do? I
would, it's one of those things you'd just have to let it happen. You'd have to just I don't even know how I'd respond to that. Utter shock and disbelief, and then I'd have to pack up my bags and move on with my life.
That's fair. Would they win the chip with Porzingis and Doncic?
Absolutely.
They would?
Kawhi and a few scrubs, they'd win a championship.
That's very fair. I'd be pretty shocked. Let us know what you guys think. As we're both in agreement, we don't expect Kawhi to actually go to Dallas, but all the reports are still coming out, and we're gonna keep you updated on everything Kawhi Leonard in these next coming weeks. So stay tuned to the Raptors Digest. You're the best for making this far. Check out the Twitter, the Instagram, all that cool stuff. Riker, do you have any last words?
That's it for me, Ben. Cheers.